Hi folks, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Are you tired of the same old blah, 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 blah from the media? Do you like unfiltered commentary? Would you like to go back to the days when our rights meant something? Well, you've come to the right place, Crisco's Corner. The fight to get back the ideals of our founders will be long and hard. Please support the channel by subscribing. And as always, thank you for your support. Hey folks, welcome back to Crisco's Corner. From Just the News. Poll. Strong majority of voters think a more powerful government leads to less individual freedom. 49% of respondents identifying as Democrat. Let me say that again. 49% of respondents identifying as Democrat has concerns about more government power impacting individual freedom. Then I have to ask you, what the hell did you vote for Biden for? Why did you vote Democrat for Congress? If half of the Democrats are worried about more powerful government leads to less freedom, why did you vote Democrat? I understand many of you out there just couldn't stand Trump's guts. I get it. You didn't like both the choices. Now, I'm a Trump supporter. I'd vote for him tomorrow. I want to make clear up front. But my God, if you didn't like both choices, write your own name in. You know, write in Mickey Mouse. I ran in about 5 local elections here in upstate New York. I was a councilman in the early 2000s, and you get all kinds of write-in stuff I used to see after Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and you get Ronald Reagan once in a while, and you get some people that write in jerks that write Adolf Hitler and that kind of stupidity, but I used to get a lot of none of the above. Then do that instead. Do a write-in. Exercise your right to vote. I'll tell you the truth. I've ran in many local elections, and we get lists of people that are registered to vote. We go to knock on doors and talk to people. And we look at your voting history. How many times in the last 2 or 3 years you voted? Especially the voters that vote often and in the off years, i.e. not presidential and not congressional. Those are the hardcore voters. You get a knock on the door from candidates like me when I used to run and other candidates. You want to see the candidate, especially locally? Vote regularly. They don't know who you voted for. It just shows who you voted. So if you didn't like Trump and you thought Biden was an imbecile and it would make government huge and lose your freedoms, then write in your own name. Write in none of the above. But why did you vote for Biden? Unbelievable. Just your hatred for Trump was so overwhelming that you couldn't help yourself? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not, because a lot of people that voted for Biden, many are decent people. They just don't get it. A strong majority of U.S. voters say an increase in the power of government leads to a decrease in individual freedom, according to a new Just the News poll with Scott Rasmussen. 63%. That's almost 2/3. That's huge. Said increasing government power means individual Americans will enjoy less freedoms. Who would volunteer to enjoy less freedom? Just 22% disagree with that proposition, while 15% were not sure. So we'll say not sure and yes is 78%. Even take that out. That's 63 to 22. That's almost 3 to 1. 66% is 3. It's almost 3 to 1. If this was a congressional district, they would have called it plus 41. Plus 20 is considered huge. Or as the president says, huge. President Trump, huge. I mean, and this is less than a month after the inauguration. Come on, guys. I know that politics lately has been just total chaos. And I know that people have been locked in and locked out of their businesses for months. Their life is just spinning out of control. I get it. and you're not thinking clearly. You just want the chaos to stop. You want to go back to normal. And I get a lot of people voted for Biden because of that. There are a lot of decent Democrats. It's the 45% of the bat blank crazy Democrats, the progressives and the leftists that are running your party. But when you go in to vote, it's just you. You can lie and say you voted for Biden so your friends won't get on your case. I get it. Just like a lot of people didn't tell they were voting for Trump. Who you voted for is your business. But look at this. Less than 1 month. Be a month tomorrow. Today's the 19th of February. Less than 1 month. Almost 3-1 say more power for government leads to less individual freedom. Who would think for a minute that they were going to crank up government and put it in every little portion of your life and up your behind? Oh, my God. And the stuff they're going to do in the schools in the next couple of years. We got a whole generation that's going to be completely lost. Let's read on. The responses by party affiliation were largely as expected. Not really. Not really, because I think it's a much higher percent of Democrats. Almost half. We'll say half. 49, we'll say half. With a higher percent of Republicans than Democrats expressing concern about the loss of individual freedom. However, some of the responses appeared unexpected. 79% of Republicans said more government means less freedom. But a near majority of Democrats, 49%, also had that concern, as did 50% of somewhat liberal respondents. Oh, my God. Oh, my. Guys, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? I'll give you a moment for you Biden voters to think about what the heck were you thinking of? This is great stuff. Yoo-hoo. Ice cold yoo-hoo. It's old school, but, some things just aren't meant to be changed. Yoo-hoo is just awesome stuff. Remember the morons that made new Coke? Remember those idiots? Some things just aren't meant to be changed. But I digress a little. A survey of 1,200 registered voters was conducted on February 11th through the 13th. So we're talking about now 22 to 24 days after the inauguration. Not even 1 month. By shooting with a mixed mode approach. The full sample has a sampling error of plus or minus 2.8. Pretty low. And I have to ask you guys, look at this. 79% of Republicans, but a near majority, 49%, had that concern. And 50% are somewhat liberal respondents. But you still voted for Biden. I'm not chastising you now. I know some of you guys have Trump derangement syndrome so bad you can't even think clearly. I'm not talking to you guys. Because I'm not saying it's a waste of time to talk to you. It's much more productive to talk to the people that don't have Trump derangement syndrome that voted for Biden. And other Democrats down the line. I live in New York, 22nd District, upstate New York. Just less than 2 weeks ago, we finally got our congressional representative, Claudia Tenney. She had it prior. Anthony Brindisi beat her. She won back her seat by 109 votes. 3 months. 3 months. To the chaos caused by Democrats with all those mail-in ballots and millions and millions of unsolicited ballots sent out. Not people that requested absentees. That's much different. Millions went out there, were unrequested. God knows where they ended up. But I digress again, but that's still part of your decision when you see this chaos caused by one side. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Republicans are perfect. I was a Democrat my whole life. I'm 64 until 2013. And I'm a Republican now. I saw a lot of this coming, but even as negative as I was on the Democrat Party, I never thought they would be this bat blank crazy. And those of you that were watching my videos on a regular basis, I'm trying to tone down the language a little bit because I think I'm being shadow banned or ghosted. And I'm hoping that when I say bat blank, you know what I mean. And maybe the algorithm won't pick it up and I can pick up some subscribers because nobody can hear me except for the people that already subscribe to my channel. And I think this channel it has a lot of potential, and I have a lot to say, and I want to hear from you guys as well. So leave some stuff in the comments. But guys, I mean, this is in a way, it's a weird version of buyer's remorse. Let's read on here. The second half of our episode here is pretty much the same subject from Just the News. A poll says half say more power to federal government would make society less fair and just. A further 11% believe it would have no impact on fairness. So if half think more power to the federal government would make it less fair and less just. Half of registered voters believe expanding the power of the federal government would have a negative effect on fairness and justice in American society, according to a new Just the News daily poll with Scott Rasmussen. 50% believe that giving the federal government more control over businesses and individual behavior would lead to less fair and just society. You want to hear one of the biggest fiascos of government interference that ever existed? The Prohibition. Do some research. There's lots of documentaries. Ken Burns has an excellent one, even though he's a big-time lefty. He did a pretty good job with the Prohibition documentary. It's 3 parts. I'm sure you can stream it online somewhere. It wouldn't be that much. Still might be on Netflix. It used to be. And that explains how the do-gooders, pretty much like what happened the last election, how they went through local and state governments threatening people to vote for prohibition, and over time it picked up steam and it finally passed, went to the states, and these same people, by the way, they were the same groups that fought for women's suffrage, which I'm not against, but they just had it wrong with prohibition. It was a disaster. It was absolute disaster. It's unbelievable, not just economically, but socially, because they had to put their nose in. People were drinking too much. You shouldn't drink that much. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Well, sorry, guys. You can't interfere with people's lives, and you can't legislate individual behavior. And that's exactly what the progressives are trying to do now. They're the totalitarians. They're the authoritarians. They're the ones that tell you how to behave, how to speak, what words you can use, what words you can't use. I mean, there's place in England, for one of all places in the world, where a lot of our common law came from. You use the wrong pronoun, you can actually go to jail, and it has happened lots of times. Let's read on. Just 22% believe that giving Washington more power will lead to more fairness and justice in the U.S. Well, that's a 22% hopeless progressive. I call them flat earthers. It's just amazing to me. No impact 11, not sure 16. The only one I think would be more fair are the 22%. And you Democrats out there, take note of this poll. That 22% represents the progressives and the leftist bat blank crazy people that are now running your party. They may be the small minority, but they got the biggest mouths and they have the most power, and now they have tons of money, thanks to guys like Soros and them. Look at this. Rasmussen is not exactly what I would call an unreliable poll by any means. Let's read on. The respondents reflect a notable bipartisan divide. An overwhelming 70% of Republicans and 51% of independents, I thought it'd be higher than the independents, believe more federal power would result in less fairness. But among Democrats, the issue was more divided, with 32% agreeing with the Republicans and 39% believing a more powerful Washington would bring about more fairness. Yet taking money from somebody else and give it to somebody else to get votes, frankly, is immoral. I'm sorry, it is. It's the old adage about two wolves in a lamb. are going to vote what's for dinner. You know, it takes no genius of a politician or a lawmaker or legislator to say, well, 58% of the people in my district want me to raise taxes on this certain group so I can take their money and give it to them. Think about that for a minute. It's amazing to me. The responses came as the Democrat Party holds power in the House, Senate, and White House, while leading Democrats signal their intent to impose broad new national regulations on issues like climate and minimum wage rules. The survey of 1,200 registered voters was conducted February 11th through the 13th, same as the other poll, by Rasmussen with a mixed mode approach. The full sample has a sampling error of plus or minus 2.8. That's pretty small for most of the polls that I've seen. A lot smaller than the presidential polls. Guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir and the conservative people that listen to my channel, but to you middle of the roaders, I guess they call independents, and the normal Democrats, not the progressive leftists, not the ones that have Trump derangement syndrome, and now are going through something even worse than Trump derangement syndrome. They're going through Trump withdrawal syndrome. And believe me, guys, that's going to be a lot worse. That could end up being like a chronic condition that you had to live with for the rest of your life. Well, maybe not. Maybe you'll be able to pick on Donald Trump again in 4 years. We'll see. That would be something. If my memory serves me right, I believe Grover Cleveland was the only president to become president by election, step out a term, and then come back for another term. I believe Grover Cleveland was the only one. If whatever is worth department for you trivia guys out there, I believe it was Taft was the only president that ended up being on the Supreme Court. In fact, he was a Supreme Court justice after he was president. Kind of interesting. Well, those two there set history. So we'll see what's going to happen in 4 years. But right now, we've got 2 years to worry about. I mean, I'll use it metaphorically. The bombs are falling everywhere. There's bullets flying everywhere in this political war. And right now, the conservatives and Republicans are up against it. Are up against it. And so we're just going to have to keep our heads down and not give up an inch, and slowly but surely push back. And then the midterms in 2022, this poll here, these people, these percentages, these high percentages, remember this. I may bring this out in 2 years, God willing, if I'm still around. But remember this. Less fair and just society. Nobody wants that. No one. No sane person. And nobody wants less economic development. Nobody. Even people that don't work don't want less economic development. They want fairness. They want less government. They want government to stay out of their business, personal and otherwise. Don't tell them how to live. Don't tell them what to do. That's what real conservative people believe in, and real Republicans. That's all they want. Here's the rules. Here's the Constitution. The government will look out for your rights. Have a good life. Go at it. And that's basically what they believe in. Oh, my God. What's coming is unbelievable. There's certain words you can't walk down a college campus as a student and say a few words. Your life is over. I mean, literally over. They'll dox you, and you'll be on the internet forever. And when you go 5-6 years from now and owe $40,000 in student debt and go to apply for a job, they're going to look that up. It's crazy. It's like the old Germany before World War II and the Soviet Union, which snitches everywhere. And soon you're going to have your own children snitching on you. It's crazy. Because government is filling in every nook and cranny of society. But you have the decision to make it stop. This isn't some far little poll that has no history with the pollsters. This is a legitimate poll. And what they're saying is more government always sucks because of one simple rule. The one reason why the Constitution and the Bill of Rights was put in there for the same rule that the founding fathers knew, and everybody thinks they were backward hicks. Are you kidding me? Alexander Hamilton and James Madison will probably ace the SATs. These were brilliant men. Just because they lived long ago with less technology, it had nothing to do with their intelligence. Probably the average person was damn near smarter than the average person now. But I digress. What I'm trying to say is the premise of the Constitution they wrote still holds true today. Less is more. Less government is always better because the same simple reason. People suck. And we have to have a system to check that the best we can and try to live our lives. So remember this poll, folks. Write yourself a note. Put it in your cell phone. I'm not that good, but put it in your cell phone for the day before Election Day in 2022. And send yourself a note that says, government and people suck. And then vote accordingly. And until next time, goodbye and good luck.